from?
Well, I don't know. I think it's my dad. You know,
Your dad?
my dad's a storyteller. He's a pretty funny guy.
Oh,
So I
nice.
spend a lot
You
of
got the
time with
Big
him.
Fish. Do you see that movie way back in the day? I don't know.
I don't
Well,
recall the movie yet.
it's actually I don't even like the movie, but it is about a dad who tells wild stories.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think the daughter is trying to like figure out like who her dad actually is, and accept the fact that he's just kind of dramatic about things. But anyway,
Yeah, that
um,
sounded familiar.
it's
Just
like one of those
confused.
awkward first date questions where you're like, no, and you're like, oh crap, where'd I go with this? Now let's go right into the books. So the books are resources. What resources do you recommend for other visionaries who are, trying to get their vision out to the world?
Yeah. Well, one that I thought of that most people don't think of, it's called The Timeless Way of Building, and it's by Christopher Alexander. And it it changed the way I think about things because I was a ballet dancer, then I was an artist and graphic designer and writer as well. So everything that I did was critiqued. A lot of stuff was based on your portfolio, what you look like in front of people. And this book was all about building for whoever you're building for. It's written actually for architects. And
Nice.
it kind of shifted because I think from school, it was so much about my portfolio. What am I presenting to people for all of those things that I mentioned: dance, art, graphic design. And yeah, that just kind of shifted where I read it early on and realized it's all about who I'm creating for.
Yeah.
Like an example is like the architects built a building for a school, and they put windows that looked really cool, but
Yeah.
the sun came in right during the time of class, and they couldn't read any of the writing on the chalkboard. so
Oh no.
so there's this innate way of us building things just within us, and like, yeah, use that, but understand who you're building for,
Yeah.
whatever you're building, whatever you're creating.
That's one. You got two more? Or are we ending on that one?
Well, I mean, the Bible, we were talking
There's
before.
number two.
It's like, yeah, yeah. I mean, that just like grounds me. I have some verses right here in front of me
Nice.
to just peek down at this to keep me focused. To just I read in the morning every day. I've been reading from the beginning, which has been totally different than what
Yeah.
a lot of people do. Bible roulette, picking here and there. I'm reading from the beginning. It's been a totally different process.
I'm in Exodus right now, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But that's a good one. What's your third?
Yeah.
Do you have a third resource you want to recommend?
Uh, I can think of one right now.
We'll do short, sweet, and simple then.
Yeah.
We got two. Awesome. Hopefully
Yeah.
we get those in the show notes, and we will be right back. We'll dive right back into your vision as soon as we're ready to go live with it. All right. Welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Callum. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. Vision Pros, welcome into another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Callum, founder and CEO of First Class Business. Let me adjust my microphone. You know what? It doesn't matter. I was just on a podcast though, and that podcast, they have such a great studio set up, and they were very meticulous about how they did things. And I'm really excited for Rodman Schley and his new podcast. He's got 116,000 followers on Facebook, and he's built some very cool businesses. I love what he's up to with the podcast. Anyway, that said, I'm also a little bit sick. I shouldn't say a little bit. I'm a lot of it sick. Bronchitis has been kicking my butt, but I still want to show up and spend time with you guys and the other people that are in my life, because it's like fulfilling. I got to meet Dr. Dorothy this morning too. I could have canceled these interviews, canceled these opportunities, but then I wouldn't feel nearly as good as I do. And even though I'm a little bit under the weather. So you got Barry Manilow on the mic today. And I got Lori Dean here. We're going to be talking about a clear path to optimal health and how she helps naturopaths and others as a copywriter clarify what it is they're up to. So I'll bring her on in just a minute. I'm going to be fairly quick with the sponsors today. Some of you can really celebrate that, by the way. But we've got the Wellness Shop 365 with Sean Lechuga. I highly recommend checking out what he's up to with his 365 Wheel of Life, and Melissa Gray with the Lost Spot, thelostspot.com. Both of them have episodes where they shared their visions with me. So if you do want to know more about them and what they're up to, then feel free to take a look at that. But we're like lifetime friends now. And both of them happen to be clients of First Class Business now as well. But we rotate these sponsors out based on people we come across who we're actually very inspired by. I'm like, man, I really want to see this grow and succeed. So the Water Project is the other opportunity we love to talk about. They're not a client of mine. I don't have any affiliation with the Water Project. I just like to give to it, and I like to talk about it because there are millions of people in the world who don't have access to water like I do, and I don't want to. I don't want to forget the 8 billion people who have extreme necessities out there. So if you happen to know of a cause you'd rather see supported, then just drop a comment. Let us know what that cause looks like. I'll see what I can do to rock the mic and represent it. If it's something that also aligns with the objectives that I want to help people with. You never know. It might be like a crowdfunding thing for a family member that you send our way. It might be, the food project. I don't know. Maybe that's a thing. But either way, we would love to make sure that that all the people in the world that need help get it. And we have the ability to do that with these microphones sometimes. So Lori Dean, I'm going to bring her on stage. We're going to talk through her background and why she's helping naturopaths and her vision. And then we'll dive into her brand a little bit right after that. So Lori Dean, welcome to Vision Pros Live.
Hi, thank you, Jackson, for having me. I'm excited to dive into this.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're here. So let's talk first about the vision for those that you serve. As I tee up for this question, there's a lot of dynamics to your background and how you've been able to help people design, copywriting, and more. Tell us a little bit about the highlights of what we would be able to read on LinkedIn about you and how you go about serving naturopaths and beyond.
Yeah. So the focus on copywriting is, I think, like one thing I realized throughout my career. I was working as a graphic designer for many years, but I would always write before designing, and writing was always brought up while I was in school as well. So as I was working with clients, writing was what was shining. I realized that's what's getting results. And working with the health and wellness space is something I'm really called to, because that's kind of how I live my life. So I'm tying it all together now and working with people who are like-minded, working with chiropractors, integrative medicine practices, and functional medicine as well, even fitness trainers, anyone kind of helping in that space. I'm just really excited about helping the people they're helping, because I'm just finding I've gone through the medical system myself for certain ailments and getting medicated in my early 20s, and then realizing I had to shift things and just change things with my diet, and just want other people to find that information. I find there's so much information online. Like if you get a diagnosis and go online, there's just so much information, and a lot of it's bad news when you dig in. So to actually help create for the health and wellness practitioners that are offering some alternative practices and care, and making it clear and a linear path for someone that's really in maybe some kind of health crisis at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And so what it reminds me of is I once saw this commercial when I was a kid. I think I was in late high school when I saw it. And this kid says, his dad says, son, don't you want to be a doctor or no, the kid says, I want to be a teacher. And his dad's like, what? Like, son, you're not gonna make any money doing that. Like, you could be a doctor or an astronaut or a lawyer. And the son says, I want to be a teacher so I can educate more doctors. So we have more doctors go on their path. And the dad kind of like takes the humble pill and is like, oh, cool. He supports his son. I have no idea what the ad was for, but it had that profound impact on me where I was like, that's cool. That's a really good idea.
Oh yeah.
What you're doing.
Yeah. And just thinking of that, I I think it's the Colby test. I filled that out, and everything of it put me in the middle. It seems like all those kind of things put me near the middle.
I know that
And
feeling.
one of the things it did say that I'm a bridge, and that's why I think I can talk to the medical professional and understand what they're talking about, and I understand the people that they're speaking to, and I can translate between the two. So I definitely am that bridge. So just hearing that story made me kind of think of that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You are. I like that. The
yeah,
bridge. That's why you're in the middle, because you're the
yeah,
bridge. That's funny. I
yeah.
hadn't thought about that. Well, that's cool. Well, let's dive into your vision for you. What's your personal vision?
My personal vision.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, for this, what I'm doing, it is. Is it more like that, or
It can
personally
be
what I'm
your
looking
personal,
for?
so my personal vision is I work on bridging the economic gap between North America and South America. That's one of my personal visions. But I also personal vision am a single father of 4 children, and I want to be the best dad I can for them. So in your case, it can be personal, it can be professional.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I have so many visions. That's it's like which one should we? Uh, I think just to keep with this, I'm just realizing just with my family and seeing people that have not changed their health and just seeing people in my family get certain diagnoses and then getting taken through the medical system. And from being in the marketing side of things, I realized they're almost in a sales funnel for the medical system.
They are. They're
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, not almost, they are.
Yeah.
And and yeah, it is just like I want to bridge that gap. I want to get that information to the people that need it because I find there's so much of the system where when people follow the medical practice, the traditional medicine, they think they're doing the right thing. They go see the doctor, they get all the screenings, and then they get a diagnosis. And sometimes they say, we can't help you anymore. Or it's such an extreme procedure that needs to be done when there's alternatives. So I'd like to bring that to light to people because there's so many people that are just kind of pulled in that way. And I think a lot of it is all that information everywhere. So my vision is long. It kind of went a little long, but I got it across. I really want to get the information about the alternative practices that they can utilize to have well being and thrive.
Good. Very good. Well, I'm happy that you bring it up because I'm one of those victims of the system, if you will. Right. I
Yeah.
allowed myself to go through that, but I had a back surgery at 28 years old. I
Oh wow.
shouldn't have. I didn't know. I did what I needed to. I had good friends. I know the surgeon personally too. So it made sense to go through this. But I was the irresponsible adult who took, I was in pain and I asked a surgeon, hey, should I get the surgery or not? Well, what's he gonna say? Like,
Hmm.
no. Like he's got liabilities if he says, you're gonna be fine. But two, he's not into alternative medicines. So he's not going to look at alternative medicines and just talk about those. And so after going through that and going through so many struggles with the recovery, right? And I'm talking to more and more chiropractors afterwards. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I wish you hadn't done that. Oh no, I wish you hadn't done that." He's like, "I can't
Yeah.
go back. I am where I am. Like, please help me where I'm at now."
Yeah.
So I speak for the trees, if you will, the people who go through this experience you're talking about, and I'm glad that you're moving. You're trying to solve that.
Hmm.
So do you want to talk further about that before we go into the question about the worst leadership experience ever? Because I'd love to give you time to just again talk about how do we go about clearing the path for optimal health and helping people make better decisions.
Yeah. And yeah, clearing the path was like a part of the vision that I've thought of too, because I'm helping write sales funnels in particular, and
Mhm.
those take people on a path. And having information on those sales funnels that is just creates a clear path, making complex wellness topics easier to understand. And so that's kind of the short version of it.
Awesome. So let's dive into the worst leadership experience you've ever done or ever had.
I'm thinking of a boss. The last job I was at, it actually led to me being an entrepreneur. I mean, I think I was always on that path. I always thought of myself working for myself, but uh, it's almost like a blessing in disguise, God pushing me into entrepreneurialism because everyone around me then at that time was saying, you should start a business. Like, and yeah, I had a boss that was just, she had no expertise in the type of work I was doing and would just come in yelling, like, change this, change that, do this. And I tried to explain why I do the things I do. And it's interesting that I, I had this awesome boss that hired me, and a month later she left and this new woman came in, and yeah, it ended up being just a horrible experience for her being a leader, not really, not, I don't know, just yeah, coming in yelling, telling someone to do, not having any idea not of what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of leadership out there like that. And part of it is the organization that puts an inadequate leader in the
Mhm.
role. Right. And part of it is the maturity to not take leadership on when you're not in that. Like I was imagining while you're talking about that, somebody coming into a bathroom and being like, let's go, you need to come back to work. And you're like, I need to wash my hands. And they're like, go to work, go do it now. And you're like, I haven't even pulled my pants up. And it's like that's that leadership style in copywriting and in digital marketing is so common. And so you have all these horrible landing pages out there and half written, half baked copy exercises that were published because of a yes man mentality and a control based, approach to marketing, that it is fresh. It's confusing. It's like, okay, who's at fault? More importantly, how do we fix this? And how do we create clarity with that type of chaos and confusion? So you chose to go the entrepreneurship route to fix it. You're like, well, I'm just going to start my own thing. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything you'd like to add as far as how do we inspire leaders to not
Oh
try
yeah,
to
sure.
break people away?
Yeah. Yeah, I think through that experience, it helped me become a better leader, especially leading people. They're doing like now I hire designers to work for me and developers, and knowing what it's like being on that side and talking to them. I think one of the big things I realized is not only just telling someone what to do and the steps that need to be taken, but explain why, especially if there's some changes, to explain why you want these changes made. And actually got uh, a great compliment from one of the developers that was working with me that said I was the best boss he ever had. And I'm like, I didn't even think of myself as a boss, like
Right.
boss. Okay. But yeah, it was really, really great helping to like the developer in particular was kind of starting out, and mentoring him along was
Nice.
really
Where is he
fun.
from?
He's actually from the Philippines, but a
Nice.
friend of a friend, like too, because she worked. I became friends with someone that worked for a coach that I was working with, and then she suggested him, and so I think yeah, she recommended some of her family members too. So it just really great people.
That's awesome. And that is cool. I want to highlight that for those of you entrepreneurs who are out there like, oh my gosh, or young visionaries who are like, oh, the word boss, she must be control. No, every culture is very, very different. The Latino culture, the ones that I work with, at least, they love to use the word boss. And have the same negative connotation that people use it in America. And I don't like to have the title of boss because of where I grew up. And it's like, no, you don't want to be the boss. There's a lot of control factors there. But same thing with the Philippines. Everybody from our different cultural backgrounds and our associations with these words, we have different feelings with them. And so I think that's one of the greatest honors is him saying that to you. It's like
Yeah.
he legitimately feels a lot of respect for how you were leading him. It's cool. So
Yeah.
let's talk about your best leadership experience. So what does that look like? What's a story that is just like out of this? You're like, man, I love how this went.
Yeah, and just it's taking me way back to the first graphic design position I had out of school, and I had a boss that was just really great. He just cared about everyone in the department. Was a funny guy, too. So kept things entertaining, but just easy to go to and talk to him about things. And like I had my experiences when I had to go ask for raises and things like that, and felt comfortable talking to him. So um, yeah.
Awesome. So, well, thank you for that. I like that you mentioned funny. Um, that's comparing one of my bosses, leaders, Jake Larson of Video Power Marketing. It's hilarious, super funny. That's not my core. Like I'm not good at being funny, but as a leader for my organization, it's important for me to be able to facilitate and cultivate an environment where people can appreciate having fun, being funny, and when we do that, it creates good feelings where people want to belong and have an opportunity. Not everybody is as touchy feely. Like I was just cuddle and hug me all day and I'm good. Like that's it. I like peace. But how important do you think fun is in a culture of a health company?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just kind of thinking about this because people have said I can be funny. Like it's just how I am. So, but getting that into some of my writing was mentioned, like to get my personality out. So yeah, I don't know, like what more to add? I just feel like, yeah, what does that add to the? Just ask the question again. I kind of went a little.
Oh no, you're good.
track.
That's even better. We're talking about how important is like fun and being funny.
How important it is.
Patch Adams, like I love that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I think about it may not be what you're thinking with this question, but I just think it helps to kind of relieve some tension and things, and that particularly for the health and wellness space. And there's serious things they're talking about there. So some way to kind of cope with things. I feel like just laughing about making some kind of joke, being light with things is definitely helpful. I know I laugh a lot, so that helps. Because I'm laughing while talking right now. So
I'll try to pick it up. I'll try to catch on. And I'm kind of serious about it. Like I didn't know how to do that years ago. I wouldn't have been able to. It wasn't part of my nature. It was an uncomfortable reality driven by a little bit of or a lot of bit of self-doubt and insecurities. But when we can find that, right, that ability to belong and goof off while being professional, that's what I'm all about these days.
Yeah, that's why I think I'm kind of like, I don't know how to fit in with the professional side exactly. I'm figuring it out myself.
Good. I could laugh better. My voice is gone.
You might start coughing.
I might too. I'm like really paying attention to my breathing work while we're doing these episodes. Bronchitis and podcasting. Those are not the two best things to combine, but nonetheless, here we are. So, all right, let's dive into super serious now. If this was your last chance to give advice to a visionary or to share a lesson that you've learned from your own experience, what would that power lesson be?
And I think really it's about listening and understanding people and taking the time to listen and understand for anything. You're kind of going back to when I talked about that book. We really need to understand our audience and who we're talking to, especially with the health and wellness topics in particular, to think about not only who they are, but what they're dealing with at the time that they first seek out alternative care. And they could be in some major health crisis at the moment. And I found talking to those practitioners that that's usually the case. I thought possibly there'd be a higher percentage that were just kind of looking for optimal health. Maybe they were some type of athlete or something like that. Everybody's had something that brought them to alternative care. And it's typically not a good experience. Either it's a bad diagnosis.
Yeah.
I think for me, a lot was seeing family members die when I was very young. Like my step-grandmother getting diagnosed with lung cancer. She's great too. Yes. She was the most thing. Yeah. I just remember like, it's so clear to me seeing her when she was really sick, and I've never seen her sick, and she was coughing, and then she had lung cancer. And then we were there at the hospital every day through the process. So I saw this whole process at 9 years old. So I definitely never wanted to smoke. So
that'll do it.
That's part
the lesson is don't smoke.
The lesson is don't smoke as well.
It's one of, and Sorry, now I'm all choked.
Yeah,
I'm
knowing
trying
the
to
audience was the main lesson, but then it went in.
no, it's good though. But listening and listening to understand, those are two different levels of skill sets. I learned that from a family therapist when I was facing my first divorce. Not exactly the circumstance you want to be in when you finally start paying attention to listening at new levels, but I had never heard anybody share the third level before. And I've read a lot of psychology stuff. It's not like I didn't try, but you can react at people. You can listen to
Yeah.
somebody and respond, like I'm doing right now, or you can listen to understand, where you dive deeper and you ask, like, what does that mean? How does that work? And that level of listening is what I've seen when I've seen the most successful people I've seen in my life defining success as the most abundant individuals. They're incredible listeners. They ask such good questions. What have you seen?
Yeah. Like I just was thinking about the change for me, and just because I felt like I was talking a lot when I was younger, and I would do that kind of listening to think, how am I going to react to the next thing that they're going to say? So
Right.
it was kind of early on. Did this kind of exercise to really listen. And then as I went through my business, it was different too, where I started asking more questions and listening instead of, so my concern, my preparation more was for a call was to write the questions I was going to ask, not thinking about a pitch. So I had to work on that pitch later though, because there are networking and different events where I needed the pitch, and I often would just say something like, I'm a graphic designer. So I need the elevator pitch practice,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I had to balance that out too. But definitely asking questions, asking the right questions, then yeah, that listening to understand and really get a deeper understanding as well. Um,
I love that you said that, you were listening, like to react. That's something that we do with comedy, right? If we want to be funny, anticipating what person's going to say, or what they're thinking ahead of time, like that's one of the most trippy forms of why comedy matters and why it's so impactful is when you can lead people to what they're thinking before they get there. Like it's amazing what can happen. I'm not a coach for comedy, by the way, so I'm not going to put that eloquently. But that is one of those realities. And then two, when we can, I loved that was my listen. Like I knew I was a champion listener and I knew people well because I could predict what they were going to say and I would say it before them. But that's
yeah.
ego driven, like that's an ego driven approach to listening. We're not actually listening. We're just trying to show off. So when I learned to start when I finally realized how toxic that was, I was like, oh, okay. Like I need to take a step back and really appreciate where people are going with what they want to do. Otherwise, I'll never really connect with people on a deeper level. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, this is like my repentance uh, show today of all the things I can do better. All right, we're going to go into making complex wellness topics easy to understand for meaningful engagement. So, how do you do that? How do you make complex topics easy to understand, Lori?
It all goes back to the listening, and I'm sorry to repeat the same thing again, but that's all. That's it's really the big part of it is it's a lot of observation, and I feel like that's something that it's just listening to people wherever I'm at as well. And I feel like everything that I've always done, like if you think of art, thinking of art, people always think it's the skill of drawing, but it's really learning to see. So uh,
Hmm.
I feel like it's with words, it's learning learning to hear, and then repeating in some ways words that someone says. Like if I'm writing for an audience, I can read their reviews, watch the videos that they made from like their top clients, have a survey, do a survey if they don't have that information, and get that information and use that. So I'm speaking, following the kind of the nuances of what their desires are. But as far as making it more easy to understand. It's also knowing them, knowing where they're at. Also thinking about when they're reading something. Emails typically have a lower attention span, so thinking of that and your audience, and maybe if they're kind of rushing and say they're a mom and they have lots of things going on, and so I want to get that information to kind of pull them in quickly, and so they understand what this is about, so they keep reading and then take them through that journey. And yeah, for me, it is listening to the medical professional, the alternative care practitioner, getting all those details that are very technical, and then thinking of the desires of their clients and bringing it together in words. So, yeah, that's always
That's good.
yeah.
Awesome. So this concept of listening, part of part of the exercises to become a better listener that I found is to learn to be intentional with what I say, as or with what I do. And you mentioned it. You mentioned email and it being a less effective form of communication in many ways. And it can be this conversation's far. I can hear you. I can see you. I can sense your vibe and your tone and your cadence. I don't have access to that when I'm trying to communicate with somebody via email. So it's like, you could propose to somebody to marry them through email. Good luck. I don't know if anybody, there's got to be somebody out there who's accepted a marriage proposal via email. Right. But I don't think that's the most effective way to go about that.
No.
So knowing the medium is big. Let's take a look at your website. This is your website, right? Labea Creative.
Yeah, this is my website. This is a business I started in 2007, and then I have one specifically I made too for health and wellness, LoriMDean.com as well.
Perfect. Well, we're going to pull that up as well. I've
Yeah.
also got one for Lead Infuser.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about that. Just thinking of the vision and talking about, and Lead Infuser, I was talking a lot about AI and automation, and realized through my own journey that it's more about the words, what I was writing. Oh, there's my son on there.
Nice. Awesome.
He's
Well, let
5
me
now. You
communicate
may
that
hear him in
with
the background. So,
awesome. Well, we here, I appreciate that. It's family first. That's
yeah.
my feeling. Anyway, I know some other podcasters might freak out about that, but
Yeah, I think that's why we are at this time. I think we had to go at a unique time for you. I know.
it's the best. So it's let me get it. LoriMDean.com.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure I grab the right one for that. And let's take a look. While I'm pulling that up, again, feel free to tell us about how does it work to work with you? What can I anticipate? Let me steal the screen from Cynthia a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, as far as working with me, I do a free consultation to get to kind of get acquainted with each other, especially if it's the first time they encountered me and never talked to me before. I like to keep it pretty casual, 30-minute conversation. Of course, like I mentioned, I ask lots of questions, learn about them, why they started their business, and why they contacted me today, what's going on in their business world right now that they wanted help. So that's kind of the start to work with me. And then from there, we determine if there's a possibility that they could go to a paid consultation if they really need help with strategy. So I'll help with the content strategy as well. And one thing I do is help with the email content. So those can be like mini courses in disguise. Seeing this scrolling by and thinking about that. So that I help with the whole process too of writing a sales funnel. If they don't have any kind of incentive, helping them determine what kind of incentives that would help them get people to opt in, and then from there sending out those emails that continue engagement. And I feel like, especially with the health and wellness, it's this may be something that someone never thought about until they have a health crisis of some sort. In particular, met someone I met someone to help his business, not in the health and wellness realm. But ended up, he mentioned to me that I don't know how we got on this. It just seemed like we were drawn together for other reasons because we ended up in this whole conversation about how his wife got diagnosis with cancer that they said they couldn't treat, and he's just like, I'm not accepting that, and did all the research. And for them, they found uh, alkaline water and getting these kind of purifiers. And then they changed all their diet as well. And they did this all themselves, just researching all of this, and totally changed their lives around. And she's healthy and doing well. And she went from a diagnosis where they said, you're not going to make it. There's nothing else we can do, to thriving. So it's just hearing those stories is like, that was when I was considering really working with health and wellness, because uh, it's so it's something I'm really passionate about for myself and my family. And then to kind of run into someone not planned, and we had this whole conversation about uh, his story. It was interesting. He's telling the story, and I hear his wife in the background, so it was very touching too. It was just like hearing her, and because it sounded like it was going to be like it wasn't going to go well. I'm sure the way the story started, you're kind of listening like, oh no, is
Right,
this
right.
gonna, and then I hear her, and I'm like, oh, she's kind of chiming in. And it was really a neat story. And so yeah, he even now in the health and wellness space and helping other people change their lives around like they did. So it's really amazing to hear those stories, and it's kind of motivates me to keep going with this.
Yeah, definitely. I like that you chose the words empathy, a blend of empathy, innovation, and conversion focused marketing. Those are very intentional adjectives. So, or purposes. Why those? What do you see that other people may be missing?
Well, it's actually I thought about the innovation. I'm always keeping up on everything that's going on technology wise, and just business trends and things like that. And um, it's something that clients would mention to me. You're very innovative. So I'm thinking, I always kind of seeing the big picture, thinking outside the box, thinking of a different way to do things. So that's why I brought that in. It's kind of a way I work and think and do things. So, and empathy, like it's just how I am. I can really feel what it's like to be in the other person's place, even if I haven't experienced it exactly. I can really understand somehow. It's just something that I'm able to do. I don't know how or why. It's just one of those gifts I've been given by God, I guess. So, so using that as well and bringing it into my work. And what did we have? Creativity. Was it creativity
You
innovation
have
or
empathy, innovation, and
empathy?
conversion centric.
Conversion. Oh yes, conversion. Yeah, because everything I'm writing is action oriented. Like let's get them to take some action. So it's uh, sparking the curiosity, increasing engagement, and then conversion to sign up for whatever we're offering. If it's a product or service, book an appointment. If it's a practitioner, and help them on their wellness journey to optimal health.
That's awesome. That's and those are three virtues or holistic opportunities for improving copy, and those certainly aren't the limits. Right? We like I said, I'm not a funny guy first, but I can find my dad jokes and my humor when I want it.
Yeah.
And we have what we gravitate towards, but it also is reflective of your desire to understand what your audience needs. So what are some of the hiring mistakes that entrepreneurs, visionaries are making in this regard? Because again, well, and here's why we focus on this Vision Pros. 96% of businesses fail within 10 years. I'm an optimistic realist. I believe that we have the ability to overcome that, but there's 4% of businesses that are not succeeding. 4% are surviving the 10-year mark. We've got to make adjustments. We've got to be willing to accept, okay, I don't necessarily know everything. So now that we have Lori Dean here, Lori, what mistakes can an entrepreneur make when they're hiring somebody to manage their copy, improve their funnels, drive conversions, or not?
I can see. So actually hiring a copywriter and that I can see just kind of hiring one person to do one small task and then not they may think they need something. Like this happened early on in my career too as a designer and doing any marketing where I'd have people come to me, uh, I need a brochure, I need a business card, I need this. So they think they need this one thing
Yeah.
and not looking at the big picture and what it does. So I would always ask, well, why do you need this brochure? And and sometimes we'd uncover you don't need a brochure. so,
Yes.
so I always thought like I'm this young designer that you should be trying to sell a brochure because I can design it for them. But I was just like, I just can't do this. Like I can't I can't design something for you that you totally don't need. It's like not going to help you in any way. So, but then I offer something else.
Yes.
What do you actually need, and help them with that, and help them with that strategy. So that's just something I've just noticed. Kind of trying. They think they need whatever it is, whatever the thing is that is out there, and uh,
It may
whatever.
sound elementary,
Yeah.
visionaries, but I'm telling you right now, 99.9% of you are making that exact same mistake. You're not chief marketing officers. You're not chief financial officers. You're not chief, operations officers. You're great at whatever it is you do. And I wasn't either, right? And before I learned how to become a chief marketing officer and a chief executive officer until I had studied enough behaviors, been behind the scenes helping enough people on those realities. Like, I don't care how many times I've watched a heart surgery either. That does not make me a heart surgeon. And when we can learn to get out of our own ways by saying, "Hey, Lori, I think I need a brochure. What would you do?" You're going to end up in a better place than if you just try to tackle that on your own and command somebody to build assets for you when you don't have the whole strategy process figured out behind it. So I'm a little bit more direct and a little bit more, I turn a lot of clients down. If they don't have the infrastructure behind them, then they got to go. We send them to a 2-hour webinar. So you can watch the 2-hour webinar. Like it's a free gift for you. Go do it. But a lot of people won't, and that's okay. I want people
Yes.
to win. I don't want people to keep losing. So I'm glad that you do turn certain projects down. That's very, very good advice. Anything you'd like to add before we wrap up today?
Hmm. I feel like we covered so many different things. I feel like I traveled around through my entire journey of graphic design to copywriting. I guess like too, just thinking about business owners. I end up talking to a lot of people starting agencies that are like I just talked to someone today in particular. I'm thinking of, and uh, I think one thing we can do as business owners is want to do everything, and
Yeah.
that's what I've really realized. Okay, what through prayer, it's been what is my God given talent, and everything came through writing. So for me, that's where I really realized it's for just hone in on that, and because I would see all the other things that some people need, and I can refer them to the specialist or bring that together through a team and hire the specialist to do all the things. But
Absolutely. Visionaries, what Lori's also going through, I go through it every day. Those who have started to make their mark on the world, that you're producing results. What's going to happen is you're going to have a whole bunch of companies, agencies, etc., approach you to do business with you. And you're going
yeah,
to get pitched wildly. And if you're not used to that, it's also a very, like, I hear a lot of professionals say like, "Oh my gosh, I hate the amount of people that are spamming me." And I'm like, "Welcome to success." Like, that's what happens. You do think you think people leave Tony Robbins alone? No. Tony Robbins gets spam times 1,000 of most of us. And he has systems and filters to help him sort through those opportunities so that he keys in on the right people to work with. I'm gonna give a small gift in honor of what Lori was explaining. And Lori, feel free to use this yourself if you'd like.
okay.
This is our vendor reply. And this is something that Ange manages my inbox now. And it says, hey, great to meet you. I'm Ange. And we send this reply to all of those horrific spam messages that we get, in addition to the pretty good providers. But we want to honor them. They're human beings that are just trying to do something. So she invites them to apply to be on the show. We wouldn't host anybody who doesn't have a legitimately holistic vision. And we always ask them for 3 things. What's your entry level pricing? Give me 3 case studies and 3 references. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you on the show. Good luck. Right? We're not letting people just move forward with us, blindly. And 99%, I would say 96% of people who receive that email, they go away. They have no references. They have no real case studies, and they're offended that we ask for entry-level pricing, which means they're not good at leadership conversations. We didn't ask them because we want to invest in their small thing. We asked to see how they'd react, or to see if they'd have the skills of listening to understand. And we bring people back to the humane conversation of, let's get to know each other, human being to human being. So I hope that helps you, Lori. I hope that helps everybody who's listening. Have a plan. Go ahead. I want to hear it.
Oh, I was just saying thank you. That was helpful. And a nice way to talk, just to communicate with people. And just as thinking about the person that came to me, what I've had happen is they see my businesses and they're actually reaching out to me to help them with their new agency. So that's been a different thing that's occurring. And that's what the conversation today kind of led with. Sometimes they want to partner with me in some way. And so not as much the spam, what we call spam, possibly reaching out.
You don't get spam?
I do. Yeah, I do. But that wasn't what I was referring to with
There's levels. There's levels of this.
But yeah, it's one thing that I do find, just talking about that, is because I help write email campaigns, is making sure you know who you're writing to, and the message is relevant to them. Because one thing that I do get is from agencies, they'll write me to promote exactly what I'm doing. So they obviously didn't research my business in any way. So it's kind of just interesting. Is a nice way to say it, just to see this. It could almost sound word for word for what I'm offering. And so there's a lot of that going on.
There's a lot of ways to look at it, though. If I see somebody putting sticks in a fire and I decide to come add a stick to the fire, I'm not necessarily, it depends. Like, do they want me to help with their fire or not? That's up to them. But just because we're doing the same thing, if we decide, hey, you do what I do, and we're both doing the same type of thing, maybe we should form a family. Maybe we should, create that sense of belonging. But there's other times where you're like, no, like I got stranger danger. I got to be careful with those types of individuals. But to get to your point, though, the watered down nature of automation and outreach and what's happening, the pen is mightier than the sword. And if you're wielding the pen of automation, then you might consider taking a step back, finding some mentors to talk to who can help you refine your approach to influence and to drive attraction for your company. So I'm always excited to talk to the Lori Deans of the world and see, what else can I do to refine my approach with helping people. And you've done that today. So I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackson.
Absolutely. Vision Pros. If you have a vision to share, in the top right corner, you'll see a button that says Be Our Guest. We'd love to have you as a guest. Come in and share your vision with us. If it's holistic, if it's helping others, that's what we're really looking for. And we'll also have on the landing page links to connect with Lori and to see what she's up to. We'll make sure the right websites are on it. She's got that Richard Branson effect with like 3, 4 growing into 250 million companies. But we'll have the right ones on there so that you can connect with her. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Everybody have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your